I'm Marcia Winbeckler, and my husband Roland and I own CakeSuppliesPlus.com. We're professional cake decorating instructors, and we've appeared on the Food Network and TLC's Ultimate Cake Off. We're also known for our life-size cake sculptures that we do of and for celebrities, and photos of those are available on our website too. Today I want to show you how Roland and I make our decorator buttercream icing. And I have a rather large batch made here, and I will put this recipe and smaller ones on our website, CakeSuppliesPlus.com. So if you go there, you can get the various ingredients. But I'm making a large batch today so that I can show you how to cream the icing so it's really smooth and light, looking like a cloud. You'll notice I'm using solid vegetable shortening today so that I don't add any color to the icing. If I want a nice white wedding cake, or I want to make a lavender, if I have butter or a deep yellow butter flavoring in here, then I'll never get a nice bright lavender. And we use popcorn salt because it's a much finer grain. If you cannot get popcorn salt, we actually have that on our site too, but if you can't find it locally in your store, I would either use a coffee grinder to grind up regular salt or omit it. To start making the icing, the first thing I want to do is pour all of the liquid ingredients into the bowl of powdered sugar so that it can kind of settle it down, since you can see how full it is. And once I get all of those in there, then I will let it sit for a little while so that it settles down just a little bit and gives me room to add some of the shortening in there. And I'll add the salt also, since it's such a small amount. I'm going to be using a beater blade brand of beater on my KitchenAid mixer, and it has a rubberized edges so it scrapes the bowl as the mixer goes around. I'll still scrape the bowl down just to show you, because not everyone has these, but they're a real handy little tool. After letting my icing set with the water and the liquid ingredients in there for a while, I have put the bowl on the mixer and added the beater to the mixer also. And now I'm going to add about 1/3 of the shortening. And the reason that we only add a small amount of the shortening is that you can use even lumpy powdered sugar and don't have to sift it if you have not put all of your shortening in the mix. Mixing the shortening too long breaks it down, and you'll get that grainy look, or the icing will get too soft if you have all of the shortening in there. But if you only put a portion of it in there, and you can mix as long as you need to until all of the lumps are out of the icing, and we always say mix until smooth. People always think there's a certain number of minutes, but no, it's mix until smooth. And you can do that with this recipe because you're only putting a portion of the shortening in. We just add the remainder of it in the last just couple of minutes just to fluff up the icing. And so next thing I'm going to do is turn on the mixer. You'll notice that I have not lifted up the bowl of my mixer. And if you have this model, what I do is start the mix with the bowl still down, and I'm going to put a towel around the bowl, and that keeps any of the powdered sugar from, or a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it from coming out. And then I just turn the mixer on, just kind of give it little spurts to sort of start mixing in the liquid, and without all of it coming out around the mixer. And once I get it so that it is not coming out, then I want to lift up my bowl, and then I can turn up the speed of the mixer, and I won't have a big puff of icing or sugar coming out of the bowl. I just want you to notice that if my icing was too stiff and I needed to add more water, I would have kind of a ring of icing forming around the top here. But if you have enough water in your icing, then you can see down into the bowl, and it's kind of a solid mass all the way up and down. About halfway through mixing the icing, I want to scrape down the sides My beater, this type of beater, is doing it pretty well for me, but not everybody has one of those, and so you want to get all the way down to the bottom and scrape any of the residue away from the edges of the bowl. And what that does is now I can go back and I can mix the icing again, and any powdered sugar that's was sitting on the bottom or whatever can still get mixed in because I don't have the remainder of the shortening mixed in there. Once I've determined that my icing doesn't have any lumps in it, then I'm going to add the remainder of the shortening, and this will make the icing nice and fluffy. I usually add a portion of it and then I go and add the remainder as it's mixing. During this mix, I would also determine whether the icing is the consistency that I want. If I'm going to be making flowers, I'd want it firmer than I would if I'm going to be frosting the cake with it. So I would, stir it and determine whether I need to add a little bit more water to make it a little bit thinner if necessary. And I'm going to turn the mixer on low and just let it turn until the icing becomes nice and creamy. So here's what the creamed icing looks like, so that you can frost your cakes nice and smooth. It's good for using for borders also. We don't use the creamed icing for decorating like flowers or figure piping. You would want to use the icing before you've thinned it a little bit or creamed it so that it's still nice and firm, because this is softer, but that makes it great for frosting the cake and nice and smooth, and it tastes like whipped cream, so it's delicious.